So I wanted to make an updated tier list, and I'm gonna start with light weapons. First of all, I'm gonna talk about dagger. It's kind of bad. Still the worst weapon in the game. Not really useful for anything. You can do cool trick stabs with it, but I don't see the use case for dagger. Next up is sword. It's not a weapon. Not a weapon that shoots bullets, so I'm putting it in C. Next up is throwing knives. I'm putting that in C as well. It's still the same. The buff didn't really change the weapon. It's still kind of bad. Now I want to talk about the 93R. And last time I said it was like a S tier weapon, but I played a bit with it, and this weapon is like kind of mid. It's not good. Like I would put it C, but it's usable. It's better than the sword and the throwing knives, in my opinion. Next up is the V9S, V9B tier, higher than the 93R, because it deals a lot more damage and it has better range. So I'm putting this above the 93R. Next up is a sniper rifle. I'm putting that in C. It's not as reliable as these two, so that's why I'm putting it in C. And it's a bit better than dagger, so I would probably do this, putting it in like high C compared to like sword and throwing knives, because it's a weapon, it's not a sword. Next up is the double barrel. I'm putting that in. I'm putting that like higher than the sniper, because you can do a lot more with the shotgun compared to the sniper rifle. Next up, I don't think this is a surprise for anyone. Next up is the XP. I don't think this is a surprise for anyone. It's going into S tier. Like I said multiple times, this gun is just insanely good for compared to every other class. Like I said, this weapon is just so much better than every other weapon, so it's gonna go in S tier for a while. So I think XP is gonna remain S tier for I don't know how long, until they nerf it or do something else with other weapons. Next up is LH1. It's high A tier. Definitely very strong. You can 3-tap heavies in the head pretty much, or 4-tap them. Super strong, a lot of DPS, you have a lot of range. The main difference between XP and LH is this weapon you can play at any range, but LH you need to play medium to long ranges. You can't really play close range, while XP you can play any range. That's why XP is S tier, and why LH is A tier. Next up is M11. M11 is high A tier as well. So why am I saying this? Well, LH1 has a lot of range and a lot of DPS. M11 has low range but high damage up close. That's why I'm putting it at A. That is once again why XP is in S tier, because it can function at any range, while M11 only functions at close range. And that's about it for light weapons. I think this is a pretty decent tier list for light in its current state. Next up is medium weapons, and I will start with the AKM. It's gonna go into A tier. AKM is like the middle ground. It's not really OP or weak. It's like just strong. It's a pretty good and reliable weapon, and it has a lot of bullets compared to the FCAR, but the FCAR does a lot more damage, and that's the reason why it's going into S tier. Like, sometimes AKM is better than FCAR depending on the situation. Like, if you're playing against a bunch of shields, I would take AKM over FCAR. Or if you know you're gonna heal a lot, I would play AKM compared to FCAR. It's like kind of up to you what you want to play, personally. Next up is the new weapon, the FAMAS. I'm gonna put this in B tier actually, because it doesn't really feel good compared to AKM and FCAR. It just feels mid. Like, it's not bad, don't get me wrong, but compared to AKM and FCAR, it just doesn't stack up to them. And I want to actually touch on the model. I think this is an A tier weapon. Unironically, this is an A tier weapon. Like, it's super strong close range, and you can 2-shot lights, basically 2-shots mediums, if you shoot 2 bullets and then melee. So it's quite strong actually. Actually, no, you 2-shot mediums, and then you 3-shot heavies. Right, yeah. Like, model is strong. Like, don't get me wrong. So I'm literally gonna say that model is better than FAMAS at the current state. Riot Shield, D tier. I don't know why you would play Riot Shield. It's just awful. Like, it's awful. Like, it's even worse than throwing knives and sword. So that's why I'm putting it in D tier. Next up is the revolver. I'm putting that in B as well. High skill gap weapon. If you hit every headshot, it might be S, but it's just a mid-tier weapon. Doesn't really provide much compared to AKM and Model and FCAR. That's why I'm putting in the B. It's like, it's not bad though, but it could be better. Next up is the CL40. I'm putting that in C tier because it's a grenade launcher, so it doesn't really stack up to the revolver or the FAMAS or the AKM. And this one grenade launcher gets countered by APS, so if you are playing against mediums that are running APS, they can just place APS and this weapon becomes unusable. And that brings me to the next point, and that is heavy. And I'm putting the other grenade launcher in C tier as well. It's the same concept. It's not a like real weapon, so it gets countered by APS. Like these two are like kind of useless until like just because of APS. Next up, I want to talk about Sledgehammer. D tier, it's not good. Unless you do like goo strategy where you goo people and you sledgehammer them, then it's decent. But once again, it's a melee weapon, so it doesn't really provide much compared to like grenade launcher or, for example, the new shotgun. And I'm putting that in B tier as well because it's still not as strong as other options Heavy has. That's why I'm putting it in B tier. Like the recent buff was good and necessary, but it doesn't really change how I want to rank the other weapons. Next up, I want to talk about Lewis gun. I'm putting that in A tier. Some people might argue that this is still an S tier weapon, but with the recent change of the recoil, it's a lot harder to control on range, and it doesn't really... Like, it's a lot harder to use. If you are good with Lewis, it's gonna be an S tier weapon, but personally, at the moment, I feel like M60 is actually the better choice for heavies, because it has higher DPS compared to Lewis and a lot more bullets. Only downside with M60 is the fact that it lacks range compared to Lewis. Like, it's kind of like personal preference. If you are really good with Lewis, I would play Lewis, but if you're not good with Lewis, I would play M60. And next up is Flamethrower, D tier. Just dog shit, doesn't do anything, no range, nothing. And SA12, out DPS is the Flamethrower. So if you only want a heavy with Flamethrower and you have shotgun, it just melts the Flamethrower. And I also want to talk about the SL12. A tier. Before it was S tier, but with the recent nerf, it's going down into A tier. And I want to talk about the fact that with heavy right now, it's in a super balanced spot where you can kind of play. You can play SA12, you can play Lewis, you can play M60. It's kind of like up to you, whatever you want to play. You're not forced to play shotgun. That's like what I like about the recent changes, that you don't really need to force yourself to play the shotgun. You can just play whatever you want to. Like, if you want to be up close and shoot people, just use the shotgun. If you want to play range and poke people, play Lewis. If you want to be like in the middle somewhere, just use M60. And like right now, I feel like this game is in a super balanced spot in terms of like weapons. Maybe they need to buff the 93R, maybe they need to buff the FAMAS a little bit more. I agree on that. I kind of want the new weapons to be in a higher tier, but as of now, I can't really put them higher because they don't do anything compared to the other weapons that are on the list right here. I would love to see FAMAS buffs and 93R, maybe V9S buffs, something to make them on par with other weapons like the LH1 M11. Make this weapon a little bit more reliable in range. Maybe it's going into A tier, but I don't know. I just hope they buff the new weapons, because right now the new weapons are just kind of mid compared to the weapons that have been in the game for so long. Like, I was hoping the new weapons were gonna change the meta, but as of now, it just doesn't really do anything. So yeah, that's about it for my tier list. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. Thank you. I stream every day on Twitch. Go follow me, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.